Draw My Life, Nelson Mandela. In 1918, Nelson Mandela was born in a tiny village called Mavezo on the banks of the Mabashi River in Transkei, South Africa.
Growing up, Nelson Mandela and his family lived in huts and ate local harvests of maize, pumpkins and beans, which was all they could afford. Water came from springs and wells. He also made toys out of tree branches and clay.
He then got baptised at a Methodist church and went on to be the first in his family to attend school.
In 1939, Nelson Mandela enrolled at the University of Fort Hare, the only black institute in South Africa at the time.
Two years later, he was expelled for leading a student protest. This quality proves that he was very passionate about what he believed in.
In 1958, Nelson Mandela married Evelyn Mays and went on to have 4 children.
The National Party takes power in South Africa and sets out to construct apartheid, a system of strict racial segregation and white domination.
Nelson Mandela is arrested at his home and charged with treason.
In 1958, Nelson Mandela got married for the second time to Winnie and went on to have 2 daughters.
In 1960 in Sharpeville, South Africa, 69 protesters were killed and 180 injured by police.
In 1961, Nelson Mandela feared he would be arrested again and went into hiding for 17 months.
In 1962, Nelson Mandela was accused of leaving the country illegally and sentenced 5 years of prison.
In 1964, Nelson Mandela got sentenced to life in prison on Robben Island. People admired his bravery and how he cared for others before himself.
In 1982, Nelson Mandela was transferred from Robben Island to Pollsmoor Prison in the suburbs of Cape Town.
In 1985, he refused to leave jail. This showed his leadership style, saying, "I cannot and will not give any undertaking, at a time when I and you, the people, are not free. Your freedom and mine cannot be separated."
In 1985, Nelson Mandela began having secret meetings with Kobe Coetzee, a South African lawyer.
In 1988, Nelson Mandela is transferred to Victor Verster Prison Farm, about 50 miles from Cape Town.
In 1990, Nelson Mandela, aged 71, is freed without conditions, ending 27.5 years of imprisonment.
In 1989, F.W.D. de Klerk is sworn in as acting president of South Africa, and he promises to phase out apartheid.
In 1992, Nelson Mandela and Winnie got divorced because of her public behaviour. This was finalised in 1996.
In 1993, Nelson Mandela and F.W.D. de Klerk shared a Nobel Peace Prize.
In 1994, general voting opens in the first election in South African history that includes black participation. He earned 252 out of the 400 seats in Parliament and won 62% of the vote.
In 1998, Nelson Mandela got married for the 3rd time to Graça Machel, the 52-year-old widow of former president of Mozambique.
In 2004, Nelson Mandela began to reduce his public activities but continued to rest and write at home.
In 2012, Nelson Mandela was hospitalised for pneumonia for 19 days and continued to return to hospital throughout 2013.
In 2013, Nelson Mandela dies at the age of 95 because of a respiratory tract infection.
Nelson Mandela showed many attributes throughout his life proving he is a good leader, such as forgiving, humble, determined and respectful.
A key event that showed his leadership style was refusing to leave jail. This proves he was a peacemaker and a great politician.
Nelson Mandela's decisions and actions had a huge influence on people. He brought people together and made change happen quicker.
White people viewed him as a threat and evil, whereas black people viewed him as loving and influential. Nowadays, people of all races view him as a passionate leader.
Nelson Mandela's legacy was teaching a vital lesson to society. He also helped end apartheid in South Africa and influenced freedom of speech and fair elections.
Nelson Mandela was a good leader as he helped end apartheid and sacrificed most of his life for the good and well-being of others. Bye, Samantha and Lily.